Artwork, critiques, Photoshop files, and reference sheets are all available on my Patreon. Welcome to the unboxing review of the Huion Kamvas 22 Plus graphics drawing tablet. And why I'm actually using this 1080p tablet screen right now, emphasis on this being the Plus model, instead of a competitor's 2K tablet I've recently tried. Spoiler alert, it's colour levels, but more on that later. So those lovely people over at Huion popped one of these over earlier in the year, and I've only just had a chance to get to grips with it. Thank you, Huion. And of course there's links in the description below if you're considering grabbing one of these things for yourself. But this is not a paid review or promotion, and I'm going to be telling you what I think. So this is what you can expect in the post. A clean white box which matches the packaging of the Huion range over the last few years, with some simple titling and a retro futuristic design on the product image on the front. It has a plastic carry handle on the top and essentially a quick setup guide printed right on the back to explain where you want to be sticking all of your cables. It opens from the top, and the first thing you'll come across is a smaller brown card box inside full of some necessary accessories. You have a USB-C connection cable, power plug for your particular country, mine of course is a 3-pin, another USB-C lead, so possibly a duplicate that just happens to come in my box, an all-in-one Lilu Dallas multi-cable designed for making things simpler for use on the go, the power adapter pack, pen pot with longer spare nibs, and the metal clip for changing them, and the latest battery-free Huion pen, the PW517, which I'll talk about in detail in a minute. And then you have a simple Allen key-like screwdriver, and taped into a baggie on the lid, the screws for attaching the stand, just so that everything you need is going to be included in the box. As for the rest of the packaging, you have the traditional Huion thank you card floating about inside of the larger box. Of course, you're welcome, and set into the foam is the fairly standard table quick release stand, made with a plastic backing, but it does come in a nice gunmetal grey for the metal legs, which freshens up its appearance compared to older models. And underneath this is the last of your documents and extras. A Huion smudge guard glove to keep your hand gliding smoothly on the surface of the screen without getting it dirty, but this is quite a tight fit for even my medium-sized hand. You get a branded Huion cleaning cloth, driver installation card reminding you to download the software from the Huion website in order to use the tablet, and the multi-language instructions manual. But of course, no one tells Mikey what to do, not even a book. The polystyrene shell comes in two halves with the drawing tablet itself snugly inside, sealed in a further thick plastic bag. And first impressions is that it's quite nice. My immediate reaction being that this is far lighter than the previous Huion Kamvas screens and much easier to handle. So overall, this is what you can expect out of the box. You get the Huion Kamvas 22 Plus tablet screen itself, the metal stand, power adapter, wall socket plug, USB-C leads, the 8192 pressure levels pen pot, smudge guard glove, multi-cable, cleaning cloth, the screwdriver, screws, driver instructions, the thank you card, and the instructions manual. You have everything you need, although once you do open the box, the actual presentation of the peripherals is pretty basic. These bits are either floating in the polystyrene or just packaged into that simple cardboard box. It's not actually important, but the presentation elements only really go as far as the external box art. Now, in my opinion, a tablet is only going to be as good as the pen you use it with. And this model of Huion's 8192 pressure levels battery-free stylus is a continuation of their design, which I'm already a big fan of. The PW517 stylus comes with a textured rubber grip at one end so that it sits comfortably and firmly in your hand with two raised buttons. It has a slightly silvered trim against an overall black design with the Huion logo at the far end. This pen is incredibly lightweight and very easy to use and comes with a slightly flared circumference near the tip. There is very minor travel with the longer extended nib, even though the pen itself has a very responsive amount of feedback. As for the pen pot itself, a continuation on previous models, which is a little bit too light to sit on the desk as a firm pen weight in my opinion, but otherwise does the job for housing the spare nibs, which now have a longer spine than normal to help the pen's responsiveness, and the metal clip for changing them in the middle. And as ever, you can either sit your stylus crossways in the donut design or pop it straight in the top. And as for the tablet, you're going to want to flip it over and screw on the adjustable stand to the back. This uses the 4 screw holes on the inside instead of the outer edge, and I'd recommend putting down a towel first to protect the screen, and then you're set to peel off the last protective layer. The stand is a slight upgrade from the standard affair with a matching plastic casing to the tablet screen itself, and as mentioned, the metal arms are finished in a gunmetal grey, and it ends in a wide crossbar with rubber grips to keep the tablet from sliding about. And although this is essentially an old design, if it ain't broke, why fix it? As this quick release lever can be used with just one hand to adjust the tablet from 20 degrees up to 80 by pulling the lever up with the tips of your fingers instead of using a paddle to depress it into the back of the tablet like some other designs. And this means you can take the weight of the tablet with one hand and let the stand lock into place in a single motion. The tablet has a smooth and uninterrupted surface finish with a very faint grain texture when you run the stylus across it. But it has no quick access keys, so you will still be using your keyboard to go alongside this tablet when drawing. This sits in a further matte black plastic housing with a relatively slim design that has the power and screen menu options on the top right corner, along with air vents to allow for heat dissipation along the top edge and down either side of the rear. Along the bottom edge are 2 low-profile pegs which keep the screen just up off of the surface of your desk, and they travel up and around the back just enough to bear the weight of the screen along with the rear stand when it's even at its lowest angles. And with the connection ports projecting out of the right-hand edge, none of the cables are going to get in your way when adjusting the stand up and down. You have a USB-free connection port so that the tablet replaces the one it might use up when plugged into your PC or laptop, the middle USB-C port for the multi-cable, and a second USB-C port if you plan on using the Kamvas 22 Plus with an Android tablet or Mac. So, if you're using it with your PC, you'll want to plug the power lead into the power adapter and connect this to the plug end on the multi-cable. The HDMI and USB ends will connect to your computer or laptop, with just the USB-C connection end going into the tablet itself. And then you'll want to download and install the latest drivers from the Huion website, and you're good to go. So here is an example of how the Huion Kamvas 22 Plus looks in a nice spacious work area alongside some larger 32-inch Asus ROG monitors. I mention them because they have a very high 2K screen color quality, and although the Kamvas 22 Plus is a 1080p monitor, it actually boasts 140% Adobe RGB. That is to say, this tablet gives off some very lovely, bright and accurate colors, and maintains them at a wide viewing angle. Now, I am very picky these days about that sort of thing, so I did adjust the settings of the screen for a bit once it was out of the box. And other than the default menu options, personally I found the color balance to be a bit more on point when I upped the backlight a little closer towards 100, then set the red at 132, green at 125, blue at 141, and just dropped the saturation down to 46. Though I always recommend either using a screen calibrator or double checking against other monitors using a range of different colored images. And so I sat down with this tablet and used it for a few days to really get a feel for what it's like for some longer sessions. Because at the end of the day I could hit you with some technical specifications, but I really care about how it actually feels to use when drawing. So I'm not, for example, going to draw a line across the screen with a flat ruler, because I've never in my life actually needed to do that when making some digital art. So what is important to me? Well, the parallax is barely noticeable and the pointer is really responsive, so that's great, and it's already what I would be expecting from a Huion tablet. But I really want to talk some more about the color quality of the screen itself, and I'll explain why that's such a big deal to me at the moment. Now, I have just recently been using a lovely 2K larger QHD graphics drawing tablet, which had quick access keys of its own and a great design. But it was let down by sporting only a 90% Adobe RGB monitor, which basically means it had a pretty good color range against a certain benchmark. However, when I was using it, my artwork on screen did seem a little bit desaturated, only for me to then display it on a phone or another monitor to realize that there were in fact a lot more richer colors in the image than I had thought. And this meant that I started to lose trust in being able to judge my own artwork accurately without dragging it onto another screen every hour or so to double check how it might really look. And the more that I've been recently exploring a more painty method in my fan arts compared to a more clean anime style, the more important to me that has become, especially as the monitor adjustment options at that time were a bit more limited. However, on this, the Huion Kamvas 22 Plus, I'm getting 140% Adobe RGB, and the menu options of being able to adjust and fine-tune the RGB balance, gamma, image brightness, and all of that separate from the screen brightness, saturation, hue, and more, meant I was able to match the color intensities of my Asus ROG monitors very closely and stop myself from going insane. So this is the brightest, most color capable screen I have used on a tablet to date, without suffering from the very slight dimness that I've come to expect regardless from drawing tablet screens as a result of how they work, which has been a comparative pleasure. You can use this as a monitor for just watching content on with your computer, especially if you're plugging it into a smaller tablet or just your Android phone, but it is mostly designed to be used, as the stand will only tilt it up to 80 degrees and not fully upright, unless you prop it up with a book or something underneath. However, unless you are sitting far back, it will likely be tilting upwards towards your eyeline anyways when you're sitting at a desk. The fact that it has a low enough energy consumption to be powered off of the USB-C multi-cable is great, as it barely warmed up near the top as I used it over time, but although that multi-cable does make it a bit more versatile and less cluttery for plugging the screen into a laptop on a desk, I personally found it to be too short in my opinion for permanent use with a desktop PC setup, unless you are sitting directly next to your PC tower. In my setup, I actually had to find an extension lead for the HDMI and USB ends of the cable in order for it to actually reach my desk area, which was certainly frustrating. But if you're smarter than I am, you'll realize, like I did a little too late, that you could just grab a USB-C extension lead from Amazon, which I would probably recommend as being necessary if you're going to buy this tablet. As for the pen to screen experience, it's great. I've not gone into too much detail as it's very similar to the Huion standard I've expected before, and I have been a big fan of the tablet styluses for a while now. But as ever, my only bit of feedback is the same thing I've said for years. I would personally love it if the flared area of the pen was in fact a touch wider in order to make holding it over a long period of time slightly more comfortable, as I do think people with larger hands or longer fingers might end up claw gripping the pen a little bit too much. Whenever you're using this stylus, you do want to ideally be holding it with a relatively light touch. So, would I recommend this tablet? Well, interestingly, the Kamvas 22 Plus is not a huge amount cheaper than the Kamvas Pro 20, which has a slightly smaller screen with 120% RGB instead of 140, but does come with a series of quick access keys along either side to save you going back to the keyboard with your non-dominant hand. And it's been my personal tablet of choice for quite a while. However, this simply has a larger and even better quality screen for a smaller price. But no buttons. My left hand, which is used to pressing undo all of the time on the left hand edge, was still twitching for the buttons which weren't there. Now, going back to resting it on the keyboard isn't too bad at all, but it can be an awkward fit on your desk if the keyboard knocks against the back of the tablet stand. And if using this along with a laptop, it will dictate which side you're going to have to set up. Now, that's just really a gripe I wanted to get off my chest, but really, yes, I could indeed recommend the Huion Kamvas 22 Plus. Trusting the colours on screen happily as an artist is a big deal to me, and it's certainly made from newer and nicer lightweight materials than last year's tablets have been, which is a big bonus. So I've packed away my last slightly desaturated 2K tablet in favour of this one, and currently the 22 Plus is still sitting quite happily on my desk. So a great big thank you to Huion for sending over the Kamvas 22 Plus for review. and for being so nice and patient. Links of course in the description below if you want to take a look for yourself, and if you have any questions or thoughts yourself, especially if you think that I might have missed something that a potential tablet buyer might want to know, do of course get yourself in the comment section below. Remember to click the subscribe button and leave a like if you feel so inclined, and I'll see you next time. Take care.